So now I want you all have ideas about spaces, about your innovation, right? More or less. Now I want you to write down I want you to create a space and write down all the possible problem loci in that space. All the problems that you can conceive of, all of it. Whatever you can conceive of. Flipping the problem on its head, and then you are doing a negative analysis. So you are trying to look at all the negatives that are a consequence of this idea not working. Those negative ideas will give you a hint of the space. Are you with me? Okay. Alright? So if there are health problems, this problem, that problem, so what is the space it identifies?
Bettering the life standards.
Quality of life could be? Could be quality of life of what?
Of humans.
Maybe a little more, it could be different. What besides quality of life? It could be what else?
Environmental.
It could be
better utilization of resources.
Could be, or better. Maybe could be the space could be managing waste. Or managing water waste, or managing water resources. Let's not call it waste. Huh? So resource management could be, water resource management could be. The idea is what will allow you to identify the space.
Yes.
So what is the idea?
Idea is effectively reusing the junks which is not useful for by others.
Kind of ecosystem to reuse the junk or
using the unused things.
Okay, using unused things, right? So that's the idea.
Yes.
So what is the space? You've given an answer already. The space is what is the ecosystem for it. You've already said how do you create an ecosystem, right? Now look at this. Get inspired by this. How do you create an ecosystem? Now look for all the problems in that ecosystem that exists. All the problems. Not one. Write as many problems as you possibly can. The space is improving the traveling experience. Now you have finalized the space. You have some idea of the space. Now you have to look at all the problems that exist in that space. All the problems, and write it down. What is the idea?
Idea is to improve the drainage system.
Improve the drainage system.
Improve the drainage system. We want to make a system which can easily separate the solid waste as well as.
Fair enough. So what's the space?
And that will drive on the flow of the water.
Yeah. And that's the idea. What's the space?
Improving the health.
Improving?
Standard of living.
Okay, a little more.
Standard of living, healthcare.
The standard of living, healthcare. You have to look at all the problems that exist in that space related to the idea. Okay?
Reduce the time taken in the commuting.
Okay, the idea is to make commuting more
easier.
More happy experience.
Yeah.
The experience is improve the experience of commuting.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So now you populate that space with as many ideas or problems that you have.
Okay.
In that space, okay? You've agreed on smart.
Yes.
Okay. And so now in the smart farming idea, you have to populate that smart farming with all the problems that you can see. Okay? All the ideas, all the problems. Yeah, good. Now we have several problem spaces and several loci. Now we're going to do quite interesting. So now we're going to ask them, now with your problem loci, make a story. Alright? Using all the problem loci, right? So now I want you to create a story out of it. With the problem loci, create a story. So I need 3, 6, and 7 stories. Think about a story with all the problem loci, but choose those problem loci in your story that you think are the most compelling of the problem loci. So convert them into a story. Your job, okay, is to listen to the story and tell them and give a feedback and identify what is it that they want to work with. identify the space. Not the group of the person, but 6 other groups identify the space. Just to make sure that that they have got the space right, they tell the story about the space right, and then we start working on the real entrepreneurial innovation, okay? Imagine is coming out with a story. Accept the Imagine group. Please listen to the story, and please tell Imagine whether, and explain the space that he's going to tell the story about. Okay.
Suppose I want to make some waffles and I don't want to buy a waffle maker so that I can use it rarely. So I can just connect with some people who already own a waffle maker and rent their waffle maker for some time, use it, and in such a way that the people who require that product can use one by one without buying that product. Or suppose if I have a party in my house and suppose I put up some paintings, and for the next party I do not want to put up the same paintings again and again, so I can rent out paintings from other people for that particular event, and just we can do that for some other products as well.
In his story, he's talking about a space. Can you identify some of the problems in the story he's talked about? Yes or no? No. Okay. Scavengers, can you identify the space around which the story revolves?
Rental services.
Rental services. Okay. And what else?
Resource utilization.
Resource utilization.
Sharing.
Resource sharing. Rental. Can you identify some of the problems in that story?
According to his story, he will be renting it from someone, from a nearby house neighbor. So it depends like whether that neighbor would like to share their things with them.
So what is the problem area in the story?
Flexibility between these.
Flexibility usual to rent is to use the same resource. Sharing. Okay, is that what he was trying to say? What is the space he's trying to talk about?
Resource utilization.
Resource utilization. And what else?
Something that is being unused but it is required by other people at that particular time. So you can give it to them and they can utilize it.
Okay, so what are the different problems he's talked about in his story?
The different problems are like he said, a painting. Now, once you buy a painting, now people know that it is at your home. Once they've seen it, now it loses its value. So now you can give that same painting to someone else for whom it will be more valuable for a certain period of time.
So, okay, that's interesting.
Space is like something, it is similar to something like if we have, we do this thing in our society, like we share things from our neighbors, with friends, relatives. If we want something from them, we just use and give it back. Same thing they do with us. Your story depicts this thing is just, you're growing this thing in a larger scale. The people you don't know, the people they don't know you, you can also do the things you do with your relatives. You just take the things either by renting or just by sharing. They share your things, you share their things, or by renting. So that's the basic thing what we do in our relatives and basic.
So what is the space?
The space is saving money, first thing.
Okay.
Like you don't want to buy a thing and just keep it at your home. If you want, but that's also limited. If you want something painting.
Okay. Right. Besides saving money, what are the different problems that you heard in the story?
First idea is that how to contact the people who have similar type of things, because if you want to do it on a large scale, then you have to contact to the people.
Okay.
And second thing is that they will take care of the resources which you are giving them, for example paintings or equipment, other things.
I see it as a kind of community building also, right? Because if I'm sharing something with other people, it connects me, and I can see lots of opportunities there also. I'm building a sharing community. Right? Like if you have a circulating library, you build a community around that library, and those people will want to go there just so they can meet up with other people like them. And that thing becomes a vahan for something else.
What is the space that he's referring to in the story?
The space would be about waste, about creating waste, and reusability of resources.
What are the different problems in that story that you have identified that links it to the space that you have identified?
There is no problem.
There is no problem from your point of view. Okay, fine.
The space he's talking about, I think, is resource utilization and money saving.
Okay, and what are the different problems you recognize?
The problems I see is like someone is using a particular product or particular thing, and I want to use at the same time.
Okay.
Then I have to wait. That is one problem.
Okay.
What I understood was that his problem space was, bringing in novelty in his environment, bringing in, more new things, changing the things in the environment that is next to him. The problem that I face is that trying to bring in that change, you might accumulate the material at your home. You might be spending in more money. So those are the problems, that his idea wants to change, and that's the problem space that they are working in, trying to bring in, not seeing the same things again and again, but bringing novelty, in the times to come, in the environment that they are there.
Right.
It could be home, it could be office, it could be any other space.
Perfect, right.
One more thing I see there is that increasingly we don't have space in our house for all this stuff. So it's like outsourcing the storage of stuff that you want to use.
One question to you. Who in all these narratives of the understanding of your story is closest to what you really mean by the space?
Sir, I would say, like ma'am pointed out right now.
Right.
Okay, the things get just accumulated in our house, and when they are not utilized, the things wear out by just sitting there.
Okay.
So we can utilize it more by renting them out and also earn some money.
Okay.
By
But that is not, even though there is alignment there, all right, you should not look, as an innovator, you should not look where you are aligned. You should look at where you are not aligned. So all these other groups, they are not aligned with you. Now ask the question, why? Why are they not aligned with you? Okay? Why? Ask the question. Have a dialogue. Ask the question, why are they not aligned? What did you not understand?
What we understood was that he want to utilize resources amongst house. I think that was his idea. So
okay,
we matched what he was saying and what ma'am was saying. So.
Yeah. You see, why I'm asking this, I'll do the same thing again, so we have the opportunity to understand it several times. But the trick is not just looking at problem, locus, and space. The trick is also communicating to others what the space is and how you think that space is going to change the world, right? Now, if you tell the space, if you communicate the space just in terms of normal narratives, you may miss the point. So a story is a good way to wrap around, right? Now, when people are not getting the space, if a large majority do not understand the space, it's not really a disadvantage. It's actually a damn good advantage. Why do you think it's an advantage that most of you did not understand what he's trying to tell you? It's an opportunity for him to refine his space, right? His story. Right? Do you get the point? The point is alignment. You're not looking for alignment. As an innovator, you actually, in the first instances, you don't look for alignment. In the first instances, you look for dissonance, not resonance. Right? And dissonance is a very important thing because it makes you think 3 times. It makes you think again and again and again. So even though the idea of space is a starting point, inherently in that space is dissonance. All the problems, those don't resonate simultaneously together. They are dissonance. One problem would go against the other problem. And in your story, you may be able to capture some, but you may miss others, which your other team members can point you to. So dissonance is not really a bad idea. As an innovator and an entrepreneur, what we are trying to teach you is don't be afraid if people disagree with you. Don't be afraid if they say it's all bullshit or it doesn't work. Because that is your starting point. That is who you're working with and what you're working with. You're working with disagreements. And use that as a technique to refine your story. Okay, you got the picture? Okay, now you can go and sit the next story.
Once upon a time, I was a farmer. I was living in my village and doing farming. So I was facing too many problems with my farm. First problem was the water. I don't get actually too much water for my crops. So I approached a government for providing me the water. So government didn't provide me yet electricity. And nowadays everyone are interested in having 3 crops during a year. So everyone having a personal bore well. So problem with the bore well is that nowadays the bore well goes up to the 1,000 feet or more than that. So we need more electricity to pumping out the water from the bottom of the earth. So I can't use a diesel engine because the diesel engine has a capacity of only 250 feet. So I approached government to give me electricity. That was my first problem. And after waiting of 2 years, government gives me electricity. And now I have water finally. So my next problem is what should I grow in my farm. So there is a several list of the crops that I can grow in my farm. But after that, I knowing that it has no value in the market of my crop because the merchants are purchasing crop very lower cost from me, and they are selling and exporting it to other countries with very high prices. So it was very confusing. What should I grow or something? Should I think about something else, like I can grow the flowers or I can do the farming of the rose, so I can export it to other countries with a very low hard work and with a high amount of money. But rather I know that it is very difficult if you are going to farming with your flowers and all these things. So I started manually. I started thinking manually that what the other farmers are growing in their farm. So I plant the seeds of cotton in my farm, and I grew the crop in my farm. That after knowing that crop are growing very well, but I found that so many mosquitoes and other insects are coming in farm. The problem with farming was that which type of pesticide I should use. But I don't have any technical knowledge. I don't have smartphone, internet, and I got very confused. So that was a very big problem of pesticide. Which pesticide and how much pesticide I should spray in my farm so that can grow very easily and very effectively. So I choose one of the product of pesticide. I sprayed my farm. After that, I found a problem of animals. They rushed to my farm and destroyed all the crops. So it was a very dangerous problem. I have to be in my farm for whole night.
In the story, what are the problems you talked about?
First of all, irrigation problem. The next is electricity problem. The government tells them they will provide electricity, but they don't get it. So there's a problem in government. Then lack of knowledge of particular land or soils. As he said, he don't know which crop he has to grow. So lack of knowledge of that.
Here is a very unique, very interesting challenge. The story. Now, if you use your boundary rationality, you would just make one-to-one correlation. But if you listen very carefully to what he's saying. What he's saying is not that he needs technology. What he's saying is, I as a farmer have no clue, I don't have training. The rest will follow if I have training. I don't know how to do this, I don't know how to do this, I don't know how to do this, I don't know how to do this. Right? It's often, always you want to go to the obvious solution. But if you listen very carefully, you will see the obvious solution is not quite obvious. Right? Think about it. Next group.
The space is improve farming, and the another one is digitalized farming. Problem is when you if you want to avoid animals from your farm, so you will put a fence, electric fence. So it might, it would be dangerous for human beings also. So you have to look after it.
The problem space is improvement in farming.
Yeah.
And the problems are the electricity that is not been provided by government, and the diesel engine that he tried to use was making pollution. First problem. Then the type of land, he was not aware about it, that what crop we should grow at that land. So marketing problem, that he can't sold that crop.
Okay. Next.
The third problem, the pesticides, the insects. The crops were getting the insects, so he used pesticides for it. And the fourth problem was animals. Animals were damaging the crops.
Okay, fine. Next.
Farming is the, I think, space here, and problems are with the farmers, related to farmers, that is lack of knowledge and facilities provided to the farmers. That is, he's not getting proper amount of electricity, water and security for his farms, as well as he lacks in knowledge for proper fertilizers, how much he should use it. So I think he was trying to say that he will provide a particular system that will enable farmer, like he just pressed the button and all the things went off automatically.
Okay.
I think that's so.
Next group. We take the next.
When I came to Mumbai and I heard about the rainy season, it would be very fun and sort of stuff. But when we went to Kanahari Caves, and I was expecting the rain because I wanted to enjoy in the rain. But the experience was not so enjoyable because of the clogging of the drains and all the puddles, all messy stuff. Then after the rain had poured down, after 1 hour or so, I could see there were many insects that were popping up here and there. And the experience itself, the thought of it that after it would rain, it would be a cleaner environment, it was totally opposite. It wasn't cleaner, it was much more dirtier. I could see on the roads, on the sides of the roads where people were sleeping, they had all this, they had all the mud and all that stuff. They were sleeping in the midst of it. And that was not a view that could be I could be proud of saying that in India, this is what we are telling about India. So that was a very disheartening scene that I saw, and I was not happy.
What's the problem space of the story?
Pleasant experience of the monsoon. Mainly providing its problem space is cleaning the environment and proper managing of the water.
Okay, next.
Water is very dirty in order to reuse it for them. So that's the problem.
Well, the problem was water clogging and poor sanitation management. And at a moment, I even felt that he was describing hostel number 8 when he started talking about water clogging and insects.
Problem is, after rain also, the place is not well clean.
What is the problem space from his story?
Cleanliness and water management.
Okay, and what are the problems? Some of the problems in the story that he has said.
Insects, like you said.
Okay, insects, animals. Okay.
Problem space, I think, was the heavy rains and water clogging. And the problems he mentioned, the insects popping around and clogging of water. That's
okay. Who's closest to your story?
So pretty much everyone got the idea of water management and water means cleanliness.
Okay, but that is what you wanted. And what are the problems? Who got the problem right?
So they didn't get the problem right, otherwise everyone was pretty much close to us.
Okay, and why didn't they get the problem right?
Maybe I was not able to communicate well.
Maybe you did communicate well, but maybe you need to...
I painted a different picture for them.
Okay, the other way to understand it, maybe they understood it differently, and you need to communicate, you need to ask them what do they actually mean, involve them in the dialogue, right? Remember to listen to the different styles of storytelling. okay? And then we will discuss a little bit with the storytelling along with the list. Now we will combine the list with the way you tell stories. And the list will be our analytical tool for storytelling, okay? To bring the list, and we would finish the storytelling, we will map the different kinds of stories, and then we will use the list to understand the stories, okay? Now you have stories, all right? Now we will synchronize what I asked you yesterday with what you are doing now, all right? I told you to tell a story, right? And we've said how much of the story is representative of the space that you understand, how much of that story you recognize the problems with, okay? So let's start with this group. Now please tell a story.
Once upon a time, there were two friends, A and B. So they find some junk and they just throw away that junk. So when A asked the person B that why did you throw the junk? So B says that I don't know what's the use of this junk. I don't have the knowledge, so I just threw it away. The B guy asked the A1 that why did, even though you had knowledge of this junk, why did you throw this junk away? So he says that I just wanted to ignore the junk, so I threw away. Then they find about somewhat like a small company called SCAVENGERS. Basically they take the junk away and they create some innovative new decorative things, such as they take the bottles and build some decorative stuff. So then from that moment they decide that instead of throwing our junk, we will give it to that company.
Let's start with SAPTARSHI. What is their space?
Waste management and the waste utilization.
Okay, but where is the experience word?
Experience comes when the company called Scavenger takes the junk and makes the product. So they feel that okay, they'll do something with the junk and they'll sell it to that company.
Okay, so it's waste management. That's the idea. Yes. That's what you think. Okay, what's the problem? What are the one or two problems that you recognized in the story?
People throw things away that might be useful to another person. So this is the first problem that I have seen it, and because of this there's a huge pile of waste that grows, which can be reduced if we basically reuse them, reuse the waste that has been thrown by other person.
Okay.
So, reusing the waste. Rather, I should say it is not a waste for a person A. It is waste for a person A, something that can be used by another organization.
Okay.
So we are just reusing it.
What's the problem?
Improper waste management.
What's the problem? Improper waste management. What else? What causes something to be improper?
Lack of knowledge.
Space is, I think it's all about reusing all those resources and waste which have been produced from a personal individual.
Okay.
And and the problem is if someone buys something or purchase something, so might that person get bored of that thing, they don't want to use that thing, instead of making them waste or lying something forever over there, the another company or someone other can use that resources and make something innovative and useful for others. Okay. It's much like sharing the resources, like they have the ideas.
I see some scope for life cycle management. If you look at it yourself like an automobile manufacturer, why not take responsible for the car from beginning to end and get the maximum usage out of it, and even run a service where you can own the car for short amounts of time. So you're not selling a car as a product, but as a service. So a lot of things nowadays are turning from becoming a product to a service. That means you don't own the thing, you timeshare it. Okay, doodh bhi, you don't have a cow at home, right? You buy it from the dairy. This is food for thought.
The space is waste management, like everyone said, and the problem with the process is that when we are trying to recycle a resource and that company is producing another product using that resource, then we have to make sure that the product which we are making is actually used or it's needed by the consumers. So that's the problem I see.
And that's the problem?
Yeah.
And the space?
Waste management and waste recycling.
Okay.
The space is like fully utilization of product. And the problem faces are like some waste that cannot be utilized. Means no one can see the productiveness of this waste. Then this waste could be a waste. If the waste is not useful for anybody, then the company may be in loss.
Okay. And what's the space?
Space is fully utilization of product.
Okay.
Their space is to reutilize the waste and to make it possible for others to use it. And I think that they are trying to solve the problem of inculcating good values in person, like to reuse the waste, not to throw it anywhere and give it to their company so that they can make it possible for others to use it.
Okay.
There was a person who was passing by the road and he felt a foul smell coming from around the place. He turned around and tried to figure out from where it is coming. Then he found a place where there was some water all over their place. It was contaminated water actually. He tried to figure out why what is the reason behind the water spilled there. He asked a person which was standing nearby him the reason for water there. He told that there's a problem in the drainage system under the gutter that was there. He actually told that there's a gutter and there's a improper drainage system under it, a kind of L-shaped drainage system in which the garbage is chalked out at the corner place. And he also saw some mosquitoes over the contaminated water and some poor people over the footpath near that water. And he realized that this water it could be unhygienic for these poor people. At the same time, he saw the stall that was nearby him, and the mosquitoes were also hovering over that place. So he realized that this could be harmful for many people also who are eating the food there. So he thought that he would bring a change by changing the drainage system.
What is your impression? What's the story all about?
I think the space is wastewater management or drainage management, and the problem associated are sanitation, health, and disease-causing vectors like the mosquitoes, flies that gets contaminated with the wastewater, and then they spread out the diseases.
Space of the problem is water management, and the problems they are facing are the construction and problems, mosquitoes and health issues, people not realizing where they are eating and all those things.
I think their problem space was about sanitation, and they were talking about cleaning the drainage water, and the problems were like disease causing mosquitoes, and then water clogging in such areas due to the waste in the water. Space was sanitation.
I think space should include infrastructure. I think because infrastructure includes all these drainage system, and if we are talking that we should improve our infrastructure, then we should think of all these things like buildings should be this type this, and drainage should be well manufactured and all these things.
To broaden it a bit more, we could say the field of urban planning as a whole, because it's not only infrastructure, it also depends on, for example, why is the municipality allowing shops to be placed near drains in the first place? Food shops or food vendors are being allowed to ply near the drain. So that's a flawed urban planning design. So that could also be brought within the space.
The problem space is drainage and sanitation, and the problems here could include that there should be proper drainage management and proper drainage system for each and every locality. For example, if we leave out some of the places, then there would be no scope of including that in the future plans of drainage management. So initially we need to set up a master plan so that the drainage management, drainage could be managed easily. And also in the case of sanitation,
there should be no mosquito. There should be no stagnant water so that mosquito can be produced there.
Apart from these two spaces, people are talking like sanitation and health and hygiene. There's one more space can be come in this, like how this waste come in the drainage system. If there will be no there will be a proper waste management, then there will be no blocking of waste inside the drainage. So we can do a proper waste management, like the management of the dry waste and the raw and the wet waste, so that can help to reduce the waste blocking inside the drainage. So this thing also can be help to improve all the drainage system, and that will eventually help in improving the health and hygiene.
SAPTARSHI and Spark. These two. And why?
Because our space was covering the health improvisation concept.
And why were they not aligned to your space? Why?
They were mainly talking about sanitation and drainage, construction.
Okay, sanitation, construction, drainage, which is you think is not part of your space. How could you get inspired by that? Oh, and urban planning. How could you be inspired by these ideas other than the one that you already know? These are options that you don't know but could be a part of it. If you were to make it a part, how would you reorganize your thoughts? Think about it, okay? Just think about it. Yes?
While leaving for work, I missed my regular bus. So I had to wait for a longer time to catch the bus to reach my office. That's why I decided that I'll travel to the main bus stand and take a bus from there. But so I took an auto and I took around 20 minutes to cover a distance of 2 kilometers. As it was peak hours of traveling, there was traffic jam almost everywhere, and there was a lot of honking and a lot of pollution present. Somehow I reached the main bus stand and got the bus and started for my office. But the bus was overcrowded and I was not able to do the regular work which I do while traveling, like checking my mails and sending a reply to the and reading some books. And thus I ended up reaching my work late, and it took around an hour for me to travel, which otherwise takes half an hour.
The space for her story is transport management.
Yeah.
And the problems associated are like traffic, pollution, rush, poor transport, lack of comfort and delay.
Need for a means better system in which the domain is she wants a better system for the entire process, the daily process of going from home to office and the experience of the traveling.
Okay, good.
The problems that I see here are traffic, poor planning of the roads, and lack of good public transport system, because of which there are a lot of private cars which is used. So these three problems. And also pollution.
Okay.
Problem space is travel experience.
Yes.
And problems are problems faced in public transport, rush and etc.
To add to that, apart from traffic management, another problem or rather problem space that I identified here was productivity and the nature of work. Like if the city roads are so crowded, why are people even required to go to the office in the first place? Can that possibly be migrated to home? Can productivity be increased in some other way? So something like that.
Sure.
So the problems were poor transportation facilities and improper time management. Sir, and the space was proper transportation facilities and its proper management.
The problems are waste of time due to the bad traveling experience, and also the traffic and pollution. These are the problems. Problem space is to increase the to enhance the traveling experience.
The experience of traveling.
The space that I thought was improper navigation system plus uncomfortability. And one more,
and the problem?
pollution.
Okay.
Problem was the pollution.
And the problem? And the space?
The space is improper transportation system.
Okay. Who do you think is closest to your narrative? Jacket, scavengers, and?
So this one.
And yours?
No.
No, the other one.
Yeah, fifth building.
Phrases. Okay. Why?
So they identified the problem space and the problems faced correctly.
Okay. And why didn't the other groups, what did they say that didn't agree with you?
So they also were close, but the problem space was a little bit step higher than what means we were focusing on only transportation experience, but the other group added that we can I think the navigation system, and yeah, so it was more broader space which they suggested.
Okay.
Once there was a man who had a job interview one day. He thought he wouldn't take the public transport because it would take a lot of time and it would be crowded, so he would become sweaty and all. So he wouldn't be able to present himself to the interviewers as he wanted to. So he decided to take his own car. The problem he faced while he was driving to the destination was that he faced a lot of traffic, which was caused by a broken down bus. When he crossed the traffic, he thought, I have lost a lot of time, so I need to make it up. He saw a red light and he thought I would jump it. In this process, he met an accident, and at the end of the day, he had a near-death experience, and he even missed that interview.
The problem faced was traffic and breaking of traffic rules and wastage of time during the transportation as well as due to the traffic jams.
Comfortable in public transportation system is the space. Problem is impatience.
Okay.
In human behavior.
Space was that obvious following the traffic rules and the traffic management. And the problem is the sir said impatience. Instead of if there is a time limit of going somewhere, instead of taking your own car, if you know there is traffic, you can use a faster public transport, or you can use train or something as metro, which you have to do a time management for that. If you know that this thing can happen, so you need to do a time management. So that was the problem.
The problem space here was the traveling experience.
Yeah.
And the problems faced by that person were firstly the safety in transport. Second was his impatient behavior. And third was the quality of public transport, because he thought that he should skip using the bus because he would get all sweaty and messed up. If the quality of the public transport was proper, he would have used the bus instead of taking his own car.
Another possible problem was civic sense, as in people's attitudes towards civic sense. Why would he think that his lateness justifies his breaking a signal? So that could be another problem space.
Yes.
Problem space is human behavior and urban transportation. The problems that I see is first, careless attitude towards the traffic guidelines. Second is improper road planning, and that is the transport system, the public transport system.
The space is transportation, and the problems are like traffic and accidental hazards in the roads, and poor traffic management system.
Poor interview management system. Maybe if he's late or something of that cause, he could talk up to them and get some system into action so that he could reach without reaching the signal.
The problem, one more problem he was addressing, that the bus broke down. So if there were any immediate action that to remove the bus from that road, then the traffic would have been solved, so that he could reach on time and there will be no other problems.
Okay. Who is closest to your narrative? Scavengers and Jacket?
Jacket, yes.
Okay. So, and why?
They pointed out the correct problems that the guy faced.
Now you have a very strong understanding of what your idea is, right? Yes or no? Now, using the 6 steps that you have in front of you that you have identified, using the ideas of shifting the focus from the locus to the space, you are to work with your resource on the table. And you have to come up with something as close as a solution to the dominant idea of the space. So how would you evaluate the dominant idea? Use the 6 points that you have written. So use those 6 points to evaluate the most dominant idea in your space. Once you evaluate the most dominant idea, go about building that idea in front of you from the rubbish that you have.